With the greetings again, we will start with the discussions on the frequently asked questions in the Rasashastra in routine practice, and trying to discuss with most of the things which are practically implicable, which are adoptable, which is more sensitive sometimes. Why I use this word sensitive sometimes is because there is always a burning problem in understanding certain parts of the subjects in Ayurveda. Like one of the prime focus is about the Rasashastra. It is about how to standardize the things. Many people will have questions stating on, is it possible to standardize Rasashastras? Or sometimes it is a question something like, why Rasashastra is not globalized, whereas herbal drugs are quite sufficiently globalized to a significant extent, at least compared to once upon a time. But Rasashastras is always a lots of challenge in a globalization. It's always a challenge to go with the standardization protocols. So with this scenario, we'll try to understand what are the problems in understanding the standardizations to that of Rasashastras. The prime question is about, is the standardization really possible in Rasashastra? Answer is yes, of course. There is nothing in this world which is not possible to be standardized. Everything could be standardized. But it's a very simple task or a difficult task to go with it. It's the next question. Prior to that, when I want to define the term called as a standardization, standardization is something like a sort of a SOP, a standard operating procedure, wherein you adopt this as a landmark or a guidelines for the further preparations. Then you have a lots of understanding in going with the term standardization. One of the basic outline is something like, it gives the same result for n number of studies. Say for example, I want to prepare Abrakavasma. I prepare it for 100 times and I analyze it. Might be it's through ICP-MS, I understand it through XRD or XRF, SEM for the particle size, or whatever the instrumental techniques of standardization, or the objective criteria for the standard protocol in the Basmas. It's always the same result. What is a norm I get as a standard procedure becomes a standardization. So it is the same result for n number of trials are done on the particular drug. Then it becomes a sort of a monogram, which is very easy to follow, which is very comfortable to be gone through. So this is about the term called as a standardization. So whether it is possible in Rasashastra, there are certain hiccups in going through understanding the possible events, what happens in Rasashastra, what are the changes we need to do, or which is possible for us to be conducting in any of these scenarios of the Rasa standardization or Rasa Dravya standardizations. So we'll try to understand one after the other. We try to understand certain advantages of standardization, certain disadvantages of standardization, with special reference to the Rasashastras or the Rasa practice. And then we'll try to analyze with the things going on what best can be done for us today. What could be the possible events that might be happening whenever we would like to go for a standardization protocol. So among them, very few of the things which can happen with a sort of a protocol of standardization with Rasashastra are the advantages of standardization. The prime thing is it removes the confusion. It gets the things into a streamline with your yukti, or with the way where you prepare the medicine in a proper way, and it gets it to a track, a rightful track, which is very easy for the next coming batches to follow or to adopt. So this gets a very standard protocol stating like the method of preparation or something like the method of dosage fixation, oral administration, or any of those things. Then standardization is really a boon to the persons, whether you want to carry out with that of the standard protocols for the preparation of the medicines or not. So there are certain things which are really advantageous. Say for example, I would like to monogram abrakabasma in Kasa or Shwasa patient. Then the method of preparation, what is the bhavana dravya added, what is the number of puttas I need to give, then what is the standardization of the Bhasma Siddha Lakshanas, then what is the dosage fixation and how is that I administer it to the patient and I observe the result in the individual. So this is the advantages like what standardization can help us. So many times it happens like these things become something like a spoon feeding. It supports a lot because it makes the things more easier. It makes the things more instrumental, and it's a sort of a objective criteria. It's not only the subjective criteria. It is a objective criteria where you have the numbers to declare the standards of a particular drug. So these things are few of the contexts where we need to understand the methods how we are supposed to take with that of standardization. There are many techniques which we need to understand them, but a very interesting phenomenon with that of standardization is it makes the track more clear. So this is the one. And the next thing which is very serious to be discussed about is about the disadvantages in standardization of a rasadravya. What are the disadvantages? No doubt you are trying to make it streamlined, but what are the hiccups in doing it? I would like to enumerate very few of them. We might, when we start into the process, it might have series of complications or problems, but there are certain hiccups in now and then, but a few of them could be highlighted. Saying something like they are natural resources. Say for example, you want to take abraka, tamra, you want to take tutta, you want to take swarnamakshika, and there are some permissible limits explained in Ayurveda, something called as the grahya lakshanas. So based on these grounds we try to select the drug. It is something like 80 to 90% accurate when you go for the grahya lakshanas in identification and in response with the instrumental techniques. Say for example, the concentration of copper in a grahya lakshana of a chalcopyrite or swarnamakshika, it is something like around 13 to 15%. This is an example which I am quoting. But there are possibilities like whenever I procure the samples of swarnamakshika, it could be 17 to 20% or 30%. It could be even 5% or less than 5% of copper concentration in swarnamakshika. So these possibilities are definitely there, which causes hiccups in standardizing protocol because it reflects in the end product. But if it is 5%, it is categorized as a rejected goods for the chalcopyrite or the swarnamakshika. But in case instead of 15%, if it is 17 or 20% also, it is quite approved. But even that minor errors between 15 and 17% is now also not approved by the guidelines of standardization protocol because it varies. So the error, type 1 or type 2 errors, whatever might happen there, it could be varied. It could be highly varied. So and this is an example. Chalcopyrite is an example. We have many minerals and drugs which can be standardized, and we got lots of hiccups in making them into standard protocols. The next method what we have is with because they are naturally occurring substances, there are lots of variations in them, and getting a uniform thing is really complicated. In case if I would have chemically processed it, then possibly this would have been possible. Say for example, I mix a particular composition with 15% of copper, around 40% of iron, and the rest of the things with silica, sulfur, everything, and make it a sort of a mixture, and I want to name it on a chemical basis in my laboratory as Swarnamakshika, then it is standardized, but it doesn't accept the norms of Ayurveda or norms of Rasashastra because they are not naturally created substances. Once I met with a geologist wherein he said, you get a Swarnamakshika with 5 or 6% of copper, which is widely available in India, and he asked me, like, you can get it to them and they can mix up some amount of copper into that and make it to 15% and give it to you as a standard protocol. So whether this particular techniques, naming it as a standard protocol as per a local geologist, it's not authentic or any source data, it is just a casual discussion between me and a geologist. Is this the way how the Rasashastra or Ayurveda been explained, with artificially preparing the substance to maintain the standards in it? No. As far as my knowledge goes, this is not the right way of standardization. This is not the right way of acceptance as per Rasashastra. They are naturally occurring substances. We need to accept them as it is. We are not supposed to treat them chemical basis. We are not supposed to add up or subtract some substance because in the name of making standardizations and utilizing them into the protocol of Rasashastra. In case if you are able to cope up with such situations, then it is fine. So again, a question mark here regarding the availability of the raw drug. The next problem with the standardization is about the methods of Shodhana. There are nearly 30 to 40 types of Shodhanas explained by various textbooks. All are classical textbooks, not the recently added up by the recent authors. All of them are classical and all of them are therapeutically active. All of them are therapeutically active. I do Abrakabasma or Abraka Shodhana with that of Trifalakwata. The mode of clinical utility is different. I do the Abraka Shodhana with that of Kshira, Gokshira. Then the clinical utility is different. Don't we believe in Samskaram Gunantaradhanam? But whereas as per the instrumental technique, Abraka is Abraka, chemically, that's all. Then what about the concept of Samskaram Gunantaradhanam goes with? How do we explain the guna karmas there being transmitted from the process which is going on in the name of samskara, which is being explained from the textbook of Charaka Samhita in Ayurveda? And should we trespass all these ideologies? Because none of those things are being highlighted. You get certain alkaloids, and we think so that's the only active principle, because in a simple kanchi there are nearly 1000 alkaloids, and out of that, which is in a higher concentration, we feel so that is the active principle of it. But there could be many of the minor alkaloids which are therapeutically active. We have unrecognized it. And is it possible to standardize so many substances? It's a question mark again. The most important part is the Shodhana techniques, which are having numerous techniques as per the textbook. The next thing with this question mark for the second time is the third question about the Basmikarana. There are so many techniques of making it into Basma. There are certain textbooks which is explained to do it in Gajaputta. There are certain textbooks which have asked you to do it in Varahaputta. There are certain textbooks which have asked you to make it with Parada as a Marana media. Certain textbooks which have asked you to make Gandhaka as a Marana media. There are wide acceptance. Don't ever think so that the textbooks are wrong or fake. They are the wide protocols. It's with lots of permutations and combinations based on the clinical utility in your patient's criteria, wherein we are supposed to prepare the medicine and administer it in them. Say for example, I prepare Abrakabasma with that of Kasamarda Swarasa, then it is excellent in case of Kasa Shwasagna. In case the same Abrakabasma I prepare with Erandapatra Swarasa, it is excellent in case of Vatavyadi. But marketed Abrakabasma with a small bracket stating like the reference from this particular textbook, and that textbook has nearly 4 to 6 types of Marana and Shodhana techniques. So which one was being followed? Because I am following the standardization with a reference, quotation, numerical evaluation, toxicity studies, everything in this. Then this is another hiccup for me and understanding the standardization. There are certain problems which we need to understand, like whether we can go with the disadvantages of such standardization protocols. If at all we can really go with any of such difficulties in understanding the disadvantages of standardization, then it could be a new leap. It could be a new success for us in understanding the steps of standardization in the Rasadravyas. The next problem what you have is about the instrumental techniques. Once the basma is being prepared, it is usually being taken up into the instrumental analysis, where we subject the drug for various instrumental techniques. Many of the laboratories are not interested for going with the rasa drugs standardization, especially with the mercurial compounds, because most of these compounds like mercury are corrosive. So especially the techniques of standardization wherein it is a destructive method, or where you have the instrument directly subjected into the testing material, becomes highly challenging because of the corrosiveness of the particles which we are using in Rasashastra. The second thing is there are lots of limitations in getting the substance in the form of a solution. I have tried myself in getting any of the basmas, diluting it in any of the medias. Absolutely, it was very, very challenging or not possible many times. I tried to dissolve tamra basma in nitric acid for at least 6 months. I could not totally disintegrated. It was partially disintegrated. So in standardizing with the destructive techniques, where I make it in the form of solutions and I standardize the drug as an end product, then it becomes more challenging, like because I'm unable to convert the basmas into the solution forms. Always the basmas are in suspensions. They are never in the form of solutions. Then it becomes quite a great challenge for me to go with how I can convert them. There are certain non-destructive techniques, say for example like XRD, ACM, or something like ICPMS. Certain techniques can be adopted for going, and most of them turns out to be very, very expensive. But still, as a norm, it can be protocoled, it can be undergone with it, but with certain hiccups again. And added to this, the dosage fixation, because once the medicine is being proved from the lab, then it goes to the clinics of the practitioner, then they fix up with the dosage of all the basmas or whatever the rasoshadis you have been prescribed to the people. Wherein once you have prescribed the medicine to the person, the dosage fixation is always altered. Again, you don't have standard norms here. You have a variation. Even for an adult who is of approximately 60 kgs body weight, my dosage form is altered. Why? Because I want to assess his tridosha levels in the body. I want to assess the dhatu sarata in an individual. I want to see the dosha dusha samurchana in an individual, and then fix my dosage. Say for example, the person is with 60 kgs body weight, and as per my clinical intervention is somewhere between the kapha prakriti, wherein the dosage I would like to give is usually a stronger dosage of medicine with a higher dosage. Might be I go for a shilajatu or haratala like preparations, and I would like to give him with a higher dosage of nearly at least 6 grams per day or 10 grams per day of shilajatu, or at least the 12 grams of shilajatu if at all I can, with those conditions. But standardization of clinical trials will not accept you to give the variation of dosage forms. It always fixes for a 60 kgs body weight person, the dosage of the particular drug is to be given only to this much. The textbook has asked you to give 65 to 125 milligram, either give 65 or 125 milligram, maintain it as standard and go away. That is the standards. But is it possible for me to go with the standardization of these protocols? Because I believe in the Tridosha theory, and none of the three doshas are being visible to me, but the response of the three doshas is expected to be visible as per the standardization protocols. I haven't seen Vata when I have dissected the body. I haven't seen Pitta when I have dissected the body. I have seen them on functional grounds. So I expect a physiology out of it and I expect a pathology out of it. But the anatomical part of the three doshas is not possible. They are amurtha substances. They are not visible to me. So in that way, can I really frame up certain standardization protocols for such substances? Because I can evaluate them on a subjective criteria, I can evaluate them to certain extent on objective criteria, I can evaluate them on clinical protocols, but with varied permutations and combinations. Say for example, I had a patient with initially Vata Prakopa. I tried to give him with Abrakabasma, which is Eranda Patra Swarasa Marita. Then later on, I find him to landing up eventually into the respiratory distress. I give him with some other drug, something like Haratala. Then afterwards, again the person lands up. It's the same process of Vata, which has been affected in the body. It's not the system. It's a sort of a whole scenario in the body which is changing during the treatment protocols. So again a hiccup rises to me stating like, how should I prescribe any of the medicines to these people with varied body compositions, because the textbook has claimed with the standard operating procedure as the dosage fixation as 1 rati is 125 milligram. But can I give the same dosage form for a person who is with Avarasattva, but as per the body configuration is 60 kgs body weight? Absolutely no. I cannot give. Because he is with Avarasattva, I am supposed to give him with a lesser dosage of medicine. Then how can I titrate it? The permutations and combinations in respect to the Tridosha theory, the Satmet of an individual, the Sattvat of an individual, the Ahara Bala, Jataragni, Vaya, Kala, Avastha, then the methods of procuring the raw drug, the method of Shodhana, the method of Marana, the method of drug standardization and the clinical administration. Then this standardization turns out to be quite impossible. It's not a simple word as hiccup. Then it becomes highly challenging for me to go for the standardization of these things. After all, I do convince many of my patients while administering them, stating like as per the modern science to claim with they are not standardized because there is no published data stating like Abrakabasma is equal to this molecule so that I can isolate it or give it to somebody. Then one of my patient answered me in a very logical way. He said, "Sir, I have come here with a belief in you and the system of medicine. It's not I am expecting a standardization, I expect the result. I expect the response, that's it. I ate idli sambar this morning in my home as breakfast, which my mom prepares at least 4 times in a week. Never have I asked my mom like whether this idli and sambar are really standardized. Absolutely no. There is no structural formula of sambar or idli. The food grains what we eat, it's definitely not standardized. The style of making the foodstuffs from my home, from the neighbor home is entirely different. Everything is named as idli, but the way how I prepare is different, the way how my neighbors prepare is different. It differs from person to person, but taking of either of the things, I haven't died. A person goes to a bakery, he has some foodstuff from the bakery and it's not standardized. And he is taking these foodstuffs at least for 3 to 5 meals per day. And he is very safe. Whereas taking medicines once in a while when he is sick or when he needs a medical support, expects to have standardizations. So whether in the name of standardization or globalization, are we going in a right way or we are withdrawing the development of the science? It's the matter which we need to think about, whether we are developing it or stagnating it. So these things turns out to be very important. Many of such topics can be discussed. Whether the standardization is really possible with that of the Rasashastra, whether the standardization is really the technique how it should be adopted for the modern man, whether it should be given for the modern man in that way. Rather, it should be a great attitude to say like whether they are safe. That's more important. Whether they are safe for humans, whether it is injurious to them in either of the way with the clinical trial, with the precautions taken, and whether that can be administered. Because when I explain about these things like at the animal trials, etc., to my patients who are educated persons but they are non-medical persons, wherein they say they have some basic ideas because they are under treatment from past, they are the regular patients from past 15-20 years with us, and they ask me, sir, you speak many times about the Tridosha theories. You say your Vata is like this in the body, Kapha is being aggravated now. You speak about these theories, and you speak about stating like you want to go with the animal experimentations, and you say like much of these drugs are not being experimented on the animals. He asked me a question like whether the animals also do have the Tridosha theory, whether they do have the Saptadhatus in the same way as the humans, and are you treating them on the same grounds? How do you assess whether a particular albino rat is Vata Prakriti or Pitta Prakriti or Kapha Prakriti? Only on the body configuration, or you have some other criterias? Whether you want to respect with all the guidelines and the standard norms of Ayurveda. So we need to understand what a common man understands with that of an Ayurveda and what a technical person is addressing the issue. So these becomes the grey areas of understanding the Rasashastra. So whether the thought processes which is being questioned by my patients in various way or my students in various ways, so whether they are being rightfully put up here, whether they are being a sort of making more controversies, is a real matter of discussion, or these are not conclusions. They are only opinions gathered from various people around me, and they have been put forth. Try to go up with standardization versus adaptation. Say for example, I am taking the breakfast which my mom has prepared at home, and I am taking it from past 40 or 50 years, and I am very happy and I am alive. I don't have any complications in taking it. The same way I believe in a particular doctor, I take the medicine from him and I am fine. Try to prove like Abrakabhasma is good in certain clinical conditions, Tambrabhasma is good in certain clinical conditions. If at all they are, administer it to the patient. Try to give it to the patient. There are many hiccups even in the way which I have presented. Something like, it's not like I'm against standardization protocols, but I would like to support adaptation as well. We need to adapt. We need to go through it. We need to see that we come to the next level of treatment modalities. Everything is not objective. There are many things which are subjective, and that is what Ayurveda believes about. And subjective criteria have absolutely no response, or they don't have any platform in understanding the stages of standardization. Then it becomes a huge question mark for understanding the science for the future scenario. Because the whole science depends on various factors wherein we have adopted it all these years. Because they are not lab created materials. They are natural substances which are tended to have minor variations many times. And they are to be adopted into our livelihood. Only then it is possible. Is it not like the so-called unstandardized or non-standardized materials administered in the name of medicine for all these years, from right from the period of Charaka Samhita or from 3rd century to the 20th century, and the people are survived. They are alive. They are fine. They are happy. And Ayurveda is a sort of a lifestyle in India. It's a part of our food, it's a part of our custom, it's a part of our ritual. The way how we live, wherein Ayurveda is a inseparable component in it. It's a part of our life in India. And all this are we people with almost 150 crores people, is this not a standard in respect to understanding the science, that what we are being adopted in day-to-day practices or day-to-day adaptations? So whether we need standardizations, whether we need adaptations at this particular stage of going with it, is a way how we need to think about and try to discuss more in future and try to understand the science as it is. So lots of thanks, and it's not like to hurt with anyone feelings about the great peaks on standards or the standard protocols, there are these are few of the questions and answers which were being framed by the non-technical people surrounding me, sometimes immature students who are not trained up into the standardization set, some of my learned patients, some of the discussions with very sportive scientists. So they are the opinions of the various people being gathered, and about definitely the clinical experiences shelled up into this presentation. So might be it is of some useful, and might be it's a thought process to understand whether we should really understand this technique of going on with the science with that of standardization or adaptation.